One of the biggest mistakes men make after going through a breakup is not healing correctly and getting themselves in rebound relationships. And I myself was a victim of this, right? I've been in long-term relationships for over 15 years, so I made this terrible mistake. And there's an ultimate price you'll have to pay, right? Which I'll go into shortly. But not just me, the clients that I'm currently coaching at the moment, they also are finding this a problem. But let me take you back in time, right? So me, myself, I'm in my mid-30s. I've been in long-term relationships since 18 years old. And I kept going through this emotional baggage cycle, right? And that's what I wanted to talk about. So I'd find myself getting in a relationship, everything would be amazing, right? For the first 1 or 2 years, you'd be in that honeymoon period. And once that honeymoon period ends, your true colors come to light, right? Any boundaries that you didn't put in place at the start, any weaknesses that you didn't work on as a man before getting yourself in that relationship all start to come to light, right? And me, myself, I'd start the relationship strong. I'd then lose my frame within the relationship. And then I'd find myself either going through a breakup, right? A woman either breaking up with me or me breaking up with the woman. And what we always tend to do, right, in this position is shift the blame, right? We end up blaming the other person. We don't take accountability. We don't take responsibility for our mistakes, our weaknesses as men. So what we do is we do the easy way out, right? We just point the finger and say, yep, she wasn't right for me. She was too demanding. She wasn't the compatible partner that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, right? We end up just blaming. But you didn't think this way at the start of the relationship, right? Think about it. When you got in a relationship with that person, everything was amazing. You're right, this is my dream girl. I'm going to marry her. I want to have children with her. I see her as a long-term partner. And then the tables turn later on in the relationship, right? So we end up then just shifting the blame. We end up acting as if we're perfect and we just blame the other person, right? But what if I told you that all the blame that you're shifting on that other person is only pushing you further and further away from bettering yourself as a man, right? Because that's what I kept doing in every relationship in the past. I'd be with someone for, 3 years, 4 years, right? In those long-term relationships, that relationship would fizzle out. As soon as that relationship would fizzle out, I would blame the other person. I'd say it's her fault. She's the reason why we broke up. She's the reason why our relationship fell apart, right? Even if she broke up with me, I'd even point the finger even more, right? I wouldn't take accountability, responsibility. I'd just blame. Get myself in another relationship, right? A rebound relationship because I wanted validation. I'm like, how dare she do that to me? I deserve better. I deserve a better woman. And then I'd get myself in another relationship. And guess what would happen? The same repeat cycle, right? Everything would start off amazing. The first 1 to 2 years were beautiful. And then after that honeymoon period would end, my true colors will come to light, right? Those weaknesses that I avoided in that first relationship, they'd come back to bite me in this next relationship. And again, what did I do? I'd shift the blame on the other person. She wasn't right for me. She didn't get me. I lost my feelings towards her, whatever the reason may be, right? I just shifted the blame on the other person. And then I'd get myself into another relationship, right? And this was an ongoing cycle. I did this for close to 15 years, right? I just continuously get in relationships, go through the breakup, avoid the healing process, get myself in another relationship. And I was always consistently doing that, right? So in essence, what I was doing was carrying that emotional baggage, right? That unhealed trauma or any healing that I avoided in the past, I ignored that, right? And I'd carry that across into my next relationship, into my next relationship, into my next relationship. Even resentment, anger towards the person that broke up with me, right? Not being able to face reality, right? Blaming the other person. I would shift my anger and resentment towards that person, get myself in another relationship, and because I didn't heal correctly, because I held anger and resentment towards that other person, saying I deserve better, it's her fault, what would happen is those anger and resentment feelings would come back in that next relationship when things would fizzle out, right? Or when that honeymoon period would end. And this was a constant, repetitive cycle that I faced. I wasted so much time being in long-term relationships, going from woman to woman, right? Getting in rebound relationships and never progressing as a man, right? Always finding myself at this same position, right? Once that honeymoon period would end, the mask would come off, that unhealed trauma, that emotional baggage would carry across, and it would come to light. And it's a real big smack in the face, right? And I really suffered because of this, right? So I just kept consistently blaming the other person, but it was me that was suffering deep down, right, at the end of the day. And not only that, I would hurt other people in the process, right? Think about it. If you get yourself in a rebound relationship, you don't heal, you get yourself in a relationship with another woman, she might even be a good woman, right? But because you didn't heal yourself from your past relationship, you end up ruining that relationship with that person, right? And then you just end on bad terms. You get yourself in another relationship, you do the same thing, and it just keeps going over and over again, right? That emotional baggage cycle. And you got to be very careful, right? Because I know guys that are in their 40s that are stuck with this problem, right? I coach guys like this, and they're faced with this problem, right? They've avoided the healing process. They've got themselves in new relationships, and now they're carrying across that emotional baggage into the next relationship, right? And you don't want to be in this position, right? Because if you keep doing this, if you keep avoiding those weaknesses, which we'll get into shortly more in detail, you're going to find yourself wasting a lot of time. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I personally have made, being in long-term relationships. This is one lesson, one valuable lesson I want you to really pay attention to and not avoid, because it's going to come back to bite you, right? You're essentially band-aiding the problem, right? You've got healing to do. You've avoided that process, you've skipped that process, and you've jumped straight into another relationship. And the truth will come to haunt you, right? That those things that you avoided will come back to bite you twice as hard, because you're just going to keep wasting more and more time. You're going to get in this same sort of vicious cycle. And one thing we don't have in this life, one thing that's very valuable, is time, right? That's my biggest advice to any man that's watching this. Don't waste time by doing this, right? Make sure you sort yourself out, heal correctly the right way. Stop using women as a cop-out to avoid the pain that you're running away from, right? Because there's only two options in this case after you go through a breakup. You learn your valuable lessons from that relationship, right? You don't hold any resentment or anger towards that other person. You focus on taking full responsibility, full accountability. Even if that person broke up with you, you take full responsibility because you chose that person at the end of the day, right? So if she broke up with you, that comes down to, again, your choice of women, right? You may be settling for less. You may be just falling for a woman's looks and just jumping all in, right? Without vetting her, without screening her the right way. So at the end of the day, you need to take responsibility, right? Don't blame the other person for breaking up with you, for cheating on you, for leaving you for another guy, right? For the relationship losing its spark or whatever it might be. You're responsible for that, right? You chose that person. Everything was good at the start. You weren't complaining then. But as the relationship progressed, right, years went on, things fizzled out. You start saying, look, I'm not happy. I deserve someone else. I deserve to be happy. But you were happy at the start of that relationship. Everything was okay at the start of the relationship, right? So you need to be more selective with who you choose to enter your life. But not only that, the most important thing is healing the right way, rebuilding your character as a man, and then getting yourself in the next relationship. Because if you don't learn valuable lessons from that previous relationship, right, you're only going to bring that emotional baggage into the next relationship, right? Your weaknesses are going to come to light. So you might as well get to work and focus on fixing those weaknesses, right? Because obviously, if you're not selecting the right woman, it's on you, right? You need to take responsibility. So if I look back at my failed relationships in the past, even though there were some good women there, right? It's my responsibility. I selected these women. So I'm responsible for why the relationship didn't work, right? And I know sometimes there might be some slight exceptions, but generally, when you're a man and you make mistakes and you actually genuinely learn valuable lessons from those mistakes, you make sure that you don't get yourself in that same position again, right? Too many men don't learn from their mistakes, and they just find themselves back in this same position over and over again, right? And I'm only speaking by experience. Trust someone who's been in long-term relationships for over 15 years, right? I know exactly what works. I know exactly what doesn't work, right? When you keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again, you know exactly that that's the problem, right? But most guys don't learn. They just jump in another relationship. They find themselves getting in the same situation again, right? They don't take accountability, no responsibility. And then they just blame the other person, right? They start looking at the other person's faults. But hey, you're the one that chose to let that woman into your life, right? So you're responsible. No one forced you to be in a relationship. You obviously had either your rose-colored glasses on in that relationship, you let things slide, right? You didn't do necessary checks, you just fell for her looks. And then when she breaks up with you or when the relationship goes sour, you just blame the other person, right? Or you think that you deserve everything, right? And that's your ego talking. That's not you operating through love and abundance, right? Because when you operate through love and abundance, you understand that you also are at fault, right? And she might even be at fault, right, at the end of the day. But you take full responsibility when you operate through that mindset, right? When you operate through love and abundance, when you drop the ego, right? Because that's what I had. I had an ego problem when it came to breakups in my past. And I'd always put myself on a pedestal, like I was perfect in a sense, right, after going through the breakup, and just blame the other person. Just blame, right? And guess what happened? Because I kept doing that, the universe, God, the man above, whatever you want to call it, kept gifting me the same situation over and over again. He's like, damn, man, you just don't learn, do you? So I'm going to have to give you the same situation over and over again, right? Until you get the point, right? Until you learn a valuable lesson. I kept ignoring it, getting the same position over and over again, right? And you probably can relate to this as well if you've been in this position before. And ever since I took full accountability, right? Ever since I went all in into focusing on my weaknesses, right? No longer seeking external validation through women, right? No longer hurting other women just to fill that empty void that I had inside. That's when I was able to attract a woman who just brings me good energy, a woman who supports my mission in life, a woman that doesn't cause chaos or drama in my life, a woman that allows me to focus on me, that allows me to put myself first. So I operate through my highest self, so she then gets the benefits of me being the best version of me, right? At the end of the day, the position that I'm at right now with the woman that I have is not by chance, right? I deserve this because I've put in the work necessary to rebuild my character. I've learned valuable lessons. I've forgiven all my ex-girlfriends, the ones that have even replaced me for other men. I've forgiven them. I wish them well. I hope they meet the right guy because obviously we weren't right for one another. And I take full accountability. And when you have that mindset shift, I'm telling you, that's when the man above will start to reward you with what you want, right? But too many guys are just operating through ego and they're shifting the blame on other people and they're only going to attract more and more of that, right? Because remember, like attracts like. So when you run into another quick relationship, right, after not healing yourself correctly, you're more than likely going to get yourself either in another toxic relationship, you're going to end up settling for less, right? Because you ignored the healing stage. You're going to ignore certain red flags, right? So you're going to end up just settling for less and finding yourself back in this same position again, right? So let's talk about the weaknesses, okay? What are the weaknesses that us men potentially face, right? And I'm only speaking from my old self. I'm only speaking from the clients that I'm helping right now. But the main weaknesses, right, that us men face with when it comes to, what we need to focus on, right, when it comes to healing is, let's say, insecurities, right? After going through a breakup, especially when a woman breaks up with us, we lose our confidence. We lose our self-love for ourselves, right? No purpose, right? We are missing that drive, right? That ambition to strive towards more. Right? We need to have purpose as men, right? And this is probably more than likely what you had as well. You got yourself in a relationship. You didn't find your purpose. You didn't build your purpose as a man And then you thought that you felt empty inside, and you thought by getting in a relationship, it's going to fill that empty void. And then the reality kicks in later, right? As the relationship progresses and you're back at square one, right? So you must have purpose before getting yourself in your next relationship. You must build your character as a man. You must overcome these insecurities. You must rebuild your self-confidence, your self-love, right? Your self-respect. You need to rebuild this, because I understand what men go through when it comes to breakups. It is very difficult. It is very painful to get yourself back on track again. I get it, right? I've been through this. I've been through the whole self-destructive stage, right? Because it was so painful for me to go through a breakup and recover myself. So I understand, right? I've been in long-term relationships. The longest relationship I've been in was, 7 to 8 years. And after that relationship, after I got broken up with, right? After she left me, I was very broken, right? I had a lot of insecurities I had to face. I was lacking that purpose. I lost my frame in that relationship, so I had to rebuild my masculine frame, right? Because if you understand women's psychology, women are attracted to men who can lead, right? So if you're in control of your life, if you're leading your own life, that is a very attractive trait to a woman, right? So I lost my frame. And because I lost my frame, I ended up just settling, right, within that relationship. And you could imagine, right, feeling so broken, feeling so low after going through a breakup, stuck in this sort of low point position with my lower self. I ignored this, right? After my very first breakup at age 21 years old or 22 years old, right? Going back, these were those weaknesses I had from that age, right? I'm in my mid-30s now. So I went through my last massive breakup, that longest relationship, 2 years ago, right? I was 34 years old. But what I'm getting at is those weaknesses that I explained, and you might be able to relate as well, they're the weaknesses that I was faced with from age 21. Can you see what I'm saying? Can you see how that emotional baggage cycle kept going on and on and on? And it just literally just blew up in my face at age 34. But twice as harder, right? I could have chose to fix those weaknesses at age 21, right? I ignored it. I kicked it under the rug. I got myself in another relationship, blaming the other person. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get myself in another relationship. I'm going to show her, right? Ego-based thinking. And those weaknesses came back to bite me. They came back to haunt me, right? So you need to understand this. Either way, if you ignore these weaknesses, right? If you ignore this healing stage, if you ignore rebuilding yourself as a man, rebuilding that purpose, finding your drive again, right? Building that masculine frame again to therefore not settle for less. If you ignore all this, you're going to find yourself back in this same position over and over again. And some men, the sad thing is, right, and I've had men message me, so the sad thing is, some men they've avoided the healing stage, they've avoided the weaknesses, that they're in their mid-50s, they're single, they're overweight, they're depressed, they've got anxiety, and they're just not able to get themselves in another relationship. They've scarred themselves so much that their belief system is messed up. They just think that they can't get themselves in another relationship. They start blaming women, right? You're going to start blaming the world. You need to reflect internally, right? Take responsibility. Don't blame the woman. Don't get yourself in another relationship just to seek validation, playing with another woman's emotions, right? Be a man and face your demons. Be a man and face your weaknesses. This is me speaking to my younger self, right? I wish I had someone to tell me this. I really do, right? I really wish I had someone to be like, you know what? You need to really focus on healing, man, because you're going to find yourself wasting a lot of time, right? And I didn't have that role model. But that's why I make this video, so I can help you. I can help you wake up to your senses, right? I don't make these videos for fun. I make these videos because I know how much pain is instilled in my clients, in myself, right? My younger self, how much pain comes through as a consequence when we don't heal the right way, when we avoid our weaknesses, right? It's going to come back to bite you is what I'm saying, right? And you more than likely can relate if you've done this, right? If you're in this position, if you're thinking about jumping in another relationship, right? Because that's the easiest thing to do. Jump in another relationship, seek validation, strike the ego, or stroke the ego, sorry. That's the easiest thing to do, right? That's the easiest thing to do. But what's hard or what's harder, what's difficult, is reflecting, is healing, is facing adversity, is taking responsibility. That's what men do, right? Real men will take responsibility, real accountability about their actions, right? And not blame other people. They operate through love and abundance, not ego, right? Because your ego's going to keep you trapped. Your ego's going to make you pay the ultimate price. And as I said, you don't want to get into your 50s, still be in this position, and just find yourself consistently just dating and dating and dating. You'll find that the quality of women are going to go down and down and down, right? Because as you keep ignoring those weaknesses, as you keep ignoring the healing stage, as you keep ignoring rebuilding your character and your purpose again as a man, you're going to find that you're just going to keep pairing yourself up with more women that have trauma, right? Yes, they might look nice, but they're going to have trauma. They're going to be low value women, right? They're going to have problems. Because that's how my relationships progressed, right? They started off with, let's say, good women, but then it just kept getting worse and worse. Meaning, I kept getting myself in relationships with women that had, certain trauma, maybe daddy issues or unhealed trauma from growing up as a child, right? I'd find myself getting in relationships with these women. I'd settle for less, right? I'd take them on face value. I'd be like, you know what? She's very attractive, right? I'd ignore the red flags. I'd settle for less, right? Because I didn't work on myself. And then I found myself in toxic relationships, right? And I was in that consistent cycle. And it's very hard to get out, right? Because think about it. You avoided your weaknesses, those insecurities, right? All those things, lost frame. You avoided that. So therefore, you're going to settle for less, right? You're going to be stuck in a relationship you don't want to be in, but you're like, you know what? Because your mindset's weak, because your belief system's weak, right? You're going to settle for less. You're going to be like, you know what? I'd only deserve this girl. I'm not going to find someone else better than her. What if I don't find anyone else? I'm reaching 40. I'm in my 30s, right? That's what will come to light. That's how I felt when I was 34 going through that massive breakup. What if, right? Just backwards thinking. And I was attached to a person that was not right for me. I was attached to a toxic relationship that wasn't right for me, right? But because I avoided the healing stage, because that emotional baggage kept coming through, right, to the next relationship, I found myself in that same position again, right? Back at square one. So you got to understand that the healing stage after going through a breakup is very important. This is the time where you get to be alone, right? Not get in another relationship. You need to face your demons. You need to enjoy being alone. You need to bring up that self-love, that gratitude, that inner peace, right? That confidence. You need to do this alone. No woman's going to do this for you. Your friends can't do this for you. You need to do it yourself. Right? So it's all about going into a, so to speak, ghost mode where you get yourself right. Okay, for at least 3 months, you get yourself right. You focus on those weaknesses. You go all in with your personal development. You recreate yourself. You shift your identity. You destroy the old you, right? Because if the old you is not destroyed, you're going to find yourself back in this same position. So you literally need to do the necessary groundwork to rebuild yourself, right? Have a new daily routine, have daily habits that benefit you, right? Start the day with positive mental attitude. Rebuild that mindset again, right? Rebuild that belief system, drop that ego mindset and create love and abundance, right? This is the only way to live for a man. This is the only way that you get to successfully enjoy a relationship with a woman and not get yourself in toxic relationships, not get yourself in relationships with low value women that have trauma, unhealed trauma, right? You trying to solve all the problems. It's not your responsibility, right? You need to focus on rebuilding your character, focus on building that frequency, right? Operating through that high frequency. That high frequency is self-love, the gratitude, the inner peace, the joy. This is where you feel good. You don't need a materialistic object. You're not defined by anything, right? You feel good, you feel whole, you feel complete within. This is your new internal operating system. And when you operate this way, right, again, like attracts like. So when you feel this way, when you're operating through love and abundance, when you view the world through a different light, through a different lens, That's when you attract the woman that you really want, the woman that you actually deserve. The man above is like, you know what? He showed up for himself. He takes responsibility. He's not blaming other people. He's focused on being a best version of himself, right? Mentally, physically, spiritually. And he will gift you a woman, right? But the reason why you keep getting yourself with these messed up women, right? They might be good looking, but they're either toxic or they've got trauma, or they end up playing mind games. They drain your energy, right? You just waste a lot of time with these women. He's only going to keep gifting you this if you keep skipping the healing stage. If you don't focus on those weaknesses that you had initially, right? Whether you had them from the start or whether they developed after that breakup or throughout that relationship, it doesn't matter, right? You need to focus on those weaknesses, and that's when you get to be rewarded with a girl, or a woman, I should say, sorry, who is aligned with the new version of you, right? That's what works. That's the only way that works. Otherwise, you're always going to find yourself stuck in that ego-based mindset, stuck in really terrible relationships, right? Where the woman doesn't even have genuine burning desire towards you, right? Or she's just messed up with problems. And you find yourself just always just wasting a lot of time and energy with this person, right? Getting with her, breaking up with her, getting back with her, breaking up with her, getting back. You know what I mean? One of those troubled relationships. And I know this is very common because the guys that I coach are in these sort of positions, right? Not all, but some are in these positions. And they come to me for help because they just feel lost, they feel broken, they feel empty. So I help them, right? I help them with the healing stage. I help them rebuild their character, rebuild that purpose again, right? Operate through their highest self, mentally, physically, spiritually. Rebuild confidence, rebuild self-love. So they can therefore upgrade the character and then meet another woman who's more suited to the right version of them, right? And not make the same silly mistakes as the past. Not ignore the red flags, vet the woman correctly, right? All these things are important. You got to understand, because if you can't take this lightly, because at the end of the day, us men, right? We want to experience love. We want to be in a relationship. No one wants to be single for the rest of their life alone. That's bullshit, right? We want to be in a relationship. So why not have the best option? But it starts with you, right? If you want a good woman to enter your life, you need to fix those weaknesses, yeah? Otherwise, you're going to keep attracting the same messy bullshit over and over and over again, right? So just understand that the healing stage is absolutely crucial, okay? The emotional baggage, you need to drop that, right? You need to drop that emotional baggage, okay? Don't carry it across to the next relationship. End it, right? End it. Start to heal, start to rebuild. It's a beautiful process, right? You start falling in love with the process. Think about the process, not the destination, right? Enjoy the process. Be like, you know what? I've avoided these certain areas, right? And you'll know which areas you're avoiding. But I've avoided these certain areas. I'm no longer going to live this way. I'm no longer going to blame other people, because how's your life going like that, right? I'm only speaking by experience. I kept doing that. And then at 34, it hit me even harder, because I'm like, you know what? These same mistakes keep coming back. It's me that's the problem. That's when my whole life started to shift, right? I took full accountability, full responsibility. So you really need to focus on that, right? You really need to focus on healing, right? Just enjoy this process. It's a beautiful process where you get to focus on building yourself, leveling up, getting better, right? And then you look back, and once you've shifted that identity, once you're no longer that old self, you look back, and I even look back at the old me and I'm like, who was that guy? I get embarrassed even thinking about that old me, right? Because I'm so in love with this new character that I've created in a shorter amount of time that I just love this way of living. That's when my life completely shifted, when I rebuilt my character, not only just with women, with my career, right? My lifestyle, all these things started to shift once I took responsibility, right? Once I focused on rebuilding myself. So you cannot ignore the healing stage. You must go all in, right? Because I guarantee you 100% you'll be back at square one again, right? It's just a matter of time. And the last thing we want to do is waste time, because the greatest asset we have in life is time, right? You don't want to be in your 50s and 60s alone, overweight, depressed, blaming the world, because that's the direction you're heading, right? You don't know this. You think, it's just a breakup. It's just a relationship. If you understand the pain that men go through, right? Maybe you haven't had much experience. Maybe you have, but I know the pain men go through when it comes to breakups, right? I know the main reasons why men are feeling this way, right? When you start coaching multiple men, You know that trending pattern, right? And I know myself, I've made these mistakes. It's very easy for me to coach these guys because that was the old me, right? And I know what works, I know what doesn't work. But look, if you need that help, if you're in this position right now, right, you're seeking external validation through getting yourself in another relationship. If you find yourself consistently on dating apps, scrolling, right? Scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, be like, you know what, I'm gonna find another girl, right? You wanna drop that ego. You wanna start to heal yourself properly. You wanna focus on rebuilding your character, rebuilding your masculine frame as a man, getting yourself right, mentally, physically, and spiritually, so you can therefore attract a better quality woman, right? So you can therefore change your life. Then click the link down below. I can help you get there. It's what I help my existing clients do. I will make sure that you get the results. So you can schedule a free call with me and we'll see if we can work together. But look, if you're someone that's going through this right now, I want you to drop it down in the comments, right? Because your comments can obviously help other people. And I'll respond back to your comments, right? I'll share my insight. I'll give you my advice on the situation. But this is a very big common problem, right? So share your side of the story. But yeah, if you like the video, give it a like. It always helps the algorithm. And if you're new to my channel, you like my content, you resonate with me, hit the subscribe button. It really helps me keep making more valuable content, because I like to just help men on their self-improvement journeys. And I only talk about the pain points that I've personally overcome, the problems that men face, the problems men face with in my coaching program, right? All these things is what I talk about. And I just want to help men become great again. So look, ending it here. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a blessed and beautiful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.